So we're going to talk about blogging, content. My name is Marcus Sheridan. You can call me on Twitter the Sales Lion. That's L-I-O-N, like Mufasa, right? Good. All right, so that's me. What do y'all say we break the tweet barrier today? Have a good time. It is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be fast-paced. But before I get going, I got to tell you to rate this session, because apparently they want you to rate this session. Going on, let's get started. So I used to be a pool guy. Now some of you have been in my stuff before. I'm going to go in a little more depth today. I started off in 2001 installing above-ground pools out of the back of a pickup truck. And the business kind of grew, and things were going okay. And we were growing, and we were spending a lot of money on advertising like all y'all crazies were 5 years ago. And then something happened. Now, this is, if you see my stuff before, you're not allowed to answer this question. But I want to know right now who the smartest person in this room is. And whoever can tell me what the following numbers represent, they are the smartest person in the room. Ready? Go. Not a lot of smart people here. What's the date? What's the date? Come on, y'all. What is it? David. What is that? What's the significance of that date? Does anybody here own a business? Raise your hand if you own a business. Everybody here that owns a business should know that date. Do you know what that date was? Are you sure you own a business? Yes, it was. What's your name? Hi, Courtney. It was the stock market crash. Raise your hand if that was a great day for your company. Does anybody know what the bottom number is? That was the low point of the Dow. Good day, right? Not so much, but it's usually in those bad moments that we find our greatest victories, right? Welcome. There's plenty of seats, and I got plenty of love to give you latecomers. All right, so the funny thing about this, actually it wasn't very funny, because literally within 48 hours of this event, when everything went down the tube, my company, over a 48-hour period, we lost 5 deposits on in-ground pools. In other words, people said, sorry, Marcus, we just can't do it. We're freaked out. All right? Good or bad? Bad. Y'all are, man, we're good. We're good. Okay, so that was bad. And here's the thing. How do people buy swimming pools? Who said equity? You're the one person that's got equity here, probably, right? Yes. Yes, equity. The problem was, after this date, they had none. It's Greg, right? What's going on, dude? He was in my first session. He sat in the front. Now he learned the lesson. He sat in the back. Okay, so this was a bad time for me as a pool guy. And in fact, there was a period in January of 2009 for 3 weeks straight where my account, as the owner of this company, my bank account was overdrawn. I have 16 employees. Good? Not so. Yes, y'all are good. Y'all are good. So, basically, that was me. Stinks to be a pool guy when the market crashes. So I'm like fiddling around one day, and I come across this thing called WebGrader, and I'm kind of crying the blues because we're in big trouble. And I enter my URL in WebGrader, and I get a grade of 17 out of 100. I said, what the heck is going on here? Now, as a competitive guy, you didn't know that. As a competitive guy, I said to myself, what is up with all this like low grade that I was getting? And that's the moment when I learned of HubSpot and inbound marketing and the power of content to change everything. We call it blogging, but I've come to not really like the word blog. And I talked about this in my other session because the reality is a blog, do you realize that most people, when they hear the word blog, they don't even realize that's just a page of your website? We think it's some separate entity. Heck, your company can have 4 different blogs at this point. A blog is just a way to format information on your website. That's really all it is at this point in time. Now we're talking about information. We're talking about content. We're talking about value. And today I'm going to tell you how to do it and how to rock and roll, because if you apply this stuff today, it's going to be awesome. For us, I made the decision that we had to do this because we had no money to spend on advertising. None. I used to spend about $250,000 a year to achieve $4 million in sales in advertising. That was me about 5 years ago when things in the economy were actually going well. And I was still spending a ton of money on advertising. I didn't have the money. I had to do something different. I read about HubSpot. I read about inbound marketing. I read about becoming the coolest guy at the dance. So everybody came to you in your market if you would just be the teacher. Like, that sounds like a good deal. And so we became a company of listers. Now let me ask you all this question. Anybody here like work? Yes, you do. What's your name? Lori. How do I know that? Because I'm awesome. Okay, so Lori, how many questions, what do you do, by the way?
I'm a sales trainer.
You're a sales trainer. Good for you, Lori. Maybe you can teach me something when this is done. So,
Here to learn.
how long you been doing this?
10 years.
10 years. How many questions do you think you've answered in 10 years about sales? Realistically. 100,000. And you know what? I bet you're right on. You have. We answer, each one of us in here that have been in our careers, we've answered thousands of questions. The problem is we usually hear them, we answer them, and that's it. We are in a different time period. And me personally, I've been in business 8 years. I had 1,000 plus sales appointments, 100,000 emails that I'd answered, and 400, I didn't write that right, 1,000 phone calls. Tag on. That's why you're supposed to look at things. So how many consumer questions did I have during that time period? A stink of a lot. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. Wait a second. They skipped something, but that's all right. Who here, before I get going, thinks they're the exception to what I'm about to say? Y'all don't know what I'm about to say. But some of you already are thinking, this junk don't apply to me. I'm a B2B business. I'm B2C. I'm another silly acronym. I'm local. I'm national. I'm big. I'm small. It's so funny. There are basically two people at conferences, in all seriousness. They're the ones that hear new information and say, wow, I can totally apply that to me and my business. I get it. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to run with it. And then there's another whole group that will hear something new and they say, nah, I don't apply this. He was a pool guy. What the heck does he know about my business? I do sales training because my name's Lori, and I'm good like that. That's not how it works, y'all. This is principle-based. This is not about techniques, although we're going to talk about some pretty darn cool ones. This is about principles. If you derive the principle from what I'm getting ready to tell you, you're going to be incredibly successful with your content marketing because you will be the voice of your industry. I promise you, the people that I work with that actually apply this stuff, they crush it. Do not think you're the exception to the rule. I'm going to read you a letter. This is real from a guy named Jason. And I ain't lying. It says, Marcus, first off, thank you. We've spoken to fall about HubSpot for 15 minutes or so, and you convinced me that smart people in the blue-collar industry can dominate online with the help of smart blogging and a lot of hard work, right, Mark Killens? Good, sir. So inbound marketing has been amazing for us. We started in October of 2010. We had 300 visitors in November. We had 14,000 in April. Our business has basically changed overnight. My boss is amazed. Capitalized, that means he's yelling. We've had to hire new people, buy new trucks and machines, etc. It's been a crazy season. I also got promoted to be vice president. Jason. Jason is 23 years old. But here's the beauty of it. What do you think? Now, y'all heard me talk about this. Don't you spill the beans. What do you think Jason sells? Now, who knows what mulch is? Mulch is what? It's like tree bark and dirt. Apparently, there's a major business to be had around tree bark and dirt. The moral of the story is, you would never think that there are hundreds and hundreds of questions about mulch. But if you type a question about mulch online right now, you'll probably find Jason's company. Jason owns the Northeast market of mulch. He is killing it, all because he said, why not? Do not think today you're the exception to the rule. You will be successful. Y'all ready to go? You ready to go? Okay, here we go. First one, cost and price. You've heard me talk about this before. Okay, how many here talk extensively about cost and price on your company website? And the crowd goes wild. We had 3 out of how many people in here? A few hundred. What's your name? Jenny. Do you own a business? No. Do you work in a business? I'll pick on you still. So, what do y'all do? Energy management. Did people ever ask you how much your stuff costs, or they just give you a credit card without asking? They do ask. That's interesting. But you don't talk about it on your website. No. Why is that? You don't know. Good. Because I don't know either. Now, here's what's interesting. Has anybody here ever shopped online before? Raise your hand if you've ever shopped online. Okay, now, you are, again, Kristen. Yes. So, Kristen, when you're shopping online, you're researching how much something costs, right? If you go to a website and you cannot find how much it costs, at least thereabouts, what do? You move on. Why do you do that, Kristen? Are you impatient? Yeah, you see, yes, I kind of am. You know what? You're all impatient because that's what you've learned by going to the school of search. That's what I call it. We've all gone to this school, but we didn't even realize it. If you go to a website and you're looking for an answer and you cannot find it, what do? You move on. You bounce, and you bounce slowly or fast. And why do you do that? Because you've all been trained to be incredibly impatient. That's the power of search. That's what Google is supposed to be. You know, for 7 years, people were asking me, Marcus, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? And for so long, I was like, oh, well, you know, it's this and it's that. And I couldn't, of course, put it on my website because, I would scare them. Oh, my competitors might find out how much it is. Oh, I'll give away all my secret sauce, which is nothing but Thousand Island anyway. Son of a gun. Crazy stuff. Now, when we decided to embrace content in March of 2009, we embraced HubSpot. We said, pure and simple, we're going to be a company of listeners, and we're going to answer every single question that we've ever received. Now, we brainstormed. Actually, I sat down late at night at my kitchen table. I said, okay, dude, what are the questions that you get all the time you've never answered on that website? And if you want to be great at blogging, the first thing you do, and I've said this in every discourse I think that I've given over the last 3 years, you brainstorm those people in your company that talk to other people, that do stuff, which is pretty much everybody, and you say, what are the questions that you get every day? You write those questions out in full sentences. You do not include pronouns. You say not how much does it cost. You say how much does a fiberglass pool cost. You take all those questions, and I've done this with companies, big and small now, all over North America. We've never come up with less than 100 questions in 30 minutes. Never less than that. What's your name? Oh, Jenny. Jenny just said, really? Darn straight, Jenny. What do you sell? You sell laughs, apparently. You do consulting. Oh, my goodness. Talk to me after this session, girl, because you know what? You've gotten thousands of questions. If you write every single question down, and you start with the 100, okay? You write every one down, and you turn every single question into a title of a blog post. And then you write the answer to that blog post. And you write 2 blogs a week. How much content is that, y'all? That's 1 year. But yet we're always saying, I don't know what to write about. You're not listening. Your ears are off. If you will stop listening and start hearing and make it your adage that essentially, and I'm going to get to this, I'm going to spill it now. They ask, you answer. That's the rule to great blogging, period. They ask, you answer. They ask about cost, boom, goes on your website. They asked me for years, and I ignored it. So finally one day, and by the way, 3.5 years ago, when I started doing this, how many swimming pool companies in the world do you think had talked about how much a fiberglass or an in-ground swimming pool costs on their website? Zero. All essentially ostriches, head in sand. It doesn't exist, this question. And if I bury my head, it'll go away. That's nuts. That's what we do as marketers. So the first article I ever wrote was, how much does the fiberglass pool cost? Within 48 hours, this article on Google was number one for average cost of fiberglass pools. How much does the fiberglass pool cost? How much do fiberglass pools cost? On and on and on and on and on. 48 hours. What do you think happened? I said, holy moly, what is going on here? What is going on? But here's what's so interesting about it. If you go to that page right now, do you think the actual article says exactly how much a fiberglass pool cost? No. It gives a range. It says it depends. And every one of you on here right now are thinking, oh, we can't do this, Marcus, because we're a service-based business. You're like, oh, he got me. He's reading my mind. It's because you're not thinking right. Google cares that you address questions. They don't know if you did a great answer, a specific answer. But don't bury your head in the dang sand. If they ask you, answer. That's the rule. That's your guiding light to blogging. And if you do that, you're going to rock and roll. So we did that, and we started to get visits. We started crushing it. In fact, because we use our HubSpot portal, and because I can track how many people typed in these cost-related phrases and filled out a form, and then we closed them out, so far, that one singular article that I wrote 3 years ago has made in sales $1.2 million. Now, you can put that in your ROI pipe and smoke it because it's the real deal. That's why we're here. We are not here, no matter what anybody tells you. We're not here to collect likes. We're not here to collect tweets. We're not here to collect friends, followers, any of that stuff. It is a byproduct of value. It is a byproduct of answering questions. Do you know how many, on that article right there, which has been read over 100,000 times, do you know how many likes and tweets it has? I think 2. Because for some reason, people ain't bragging on Twitter how they just bought a $50,000 pool. St. Cribs, I don't know. The thing about it is, guys, you got to find out what works in your industry. It's not always about the silly numbers. The bottom line is, we've got, as a business, to turn a profit. And if we are not turning a profit, we've got to do something about it. And if you want to be different than your competitors and earn the trust of your people, you will address the questions that nobody else wants to answer. Are you with me? Yeah. Okay, so let's say, what's your name, my man? Greg, right? Good. Greg. You're thinking about buying a fiberglass pool. You like Marcus, the sales guy. Thought he was pretty groovy. Okay, and you like fiberglass. But to keep him honest, you're going to meet with concrete pool guy too, right? Concrete guy sits down with you, Greg, and you tell him that you met with Marcus and that you like fiberglass pools. Now, what's concrete guy going to tell you? There's a problem with them. He's going to say, oh, Greg, you don't want one of them fiberglass pools. They crack. They pop. They are too skinny. They don't get deep enough. You can't customize them. You got nothing but problems with them things, Greg. Problems. I'm telling you, do not give. It ain't even a pool, Greg. And now Greg has a problem. He has a moral dilemma. Now you're freaked out. You like Marcus and his fiberglass pools, but now you're thinking of nothing but the fiberglass pool problems. What are you going to do? You're going to go to the source of all light, truth, and knowledge, aren't you? That's exactly right. Because in Google we trust. That's where we are. We're kind of freaky. We're kind of freaky. In fact, you all here, I'm going to go back. You all here, you trust Google more than you trust your spouses, your preacher, your boyfriend. I don't care who it is. And some of you type in really freaky stuff in Google, don't you? In fact, as I just said that, I looked around and many looked to the floor. You mothers know what I'm talking about. Your kid's sick, do you call the doctor? No. What do? You're laughing your tail off, but what do? You Google it. My son's got a funky itch on his left ear. What do I do? Why do we do that? We're all doctors now. In Google we trust. So, my man Greg is freaked out about the problems of fiberglass pools. So naturally, being a content marketer, inbound marketer, you hear the question, And I heard it for years. Marcus, come on, be honest. Tell me about the problems with your fiberglass pools, man. Come on. And I had to answer the question. They ask, we answer. So we wrote an article, Top 5 Fiberglass Pool Problems and Solutions. This one took about 8 hours to be number 1 on Google. Now, this is what's interesting. This is from last year. If you look at this, some of you can't see it. The number 1, y'all know this is leads, right? These are leads, these are your keywords, the number of visits from that keyword to the site, and this is the number of leads, people that filled out a form. The number 1 phrase that captured a lead for us was river pools and spas last year, obviously, because that's a direct traffic. They heard from a friend, they came in. Okay, that doesn't count. Now, what really counts are the other keywords in your site. What's interesting is, what is the number 1 lead generating term that I have on my website? Fiberglass pool problems. And I'm coming out and talking about the problems with my product, but yet it's the number 1 lead generating phrase on the site. How does that happen? How does it happen? Why? What happens when you come right out of the gate and you say to Mr. Customer, you know, Mr. Customer, our product may or may not be for you. In fact, here's who it's not for. Y'all, if you want to be successful with sales, you immediately tell every single person why your product or service is not for them. That's called disarmament, and it works very well. How many people have actually done that? Nobody. And I know some of you smarties have, but I'm saying, how many people in your industry have actually come out and said, you know what, our product might not be for you? This disarms. You've got to disarm. This is transparent marketing. You've got to be real. And because of that, that one article, that one keyword phrase has generated $400,000 in sales since the first one. And I know that because I track my stuff and I close out my leads. If you're not closing out your leads and you're not tracking how much your blog articles are making you, you should be. And one of these days, I think it's going to happen automatically within HubSpot. Right now, though, all you have to do is you say, okay, here's the article. And I can see how they came in through this keyword, and obviously they landed on this article. They became a lead. They became a customer. I close it out now, and I see that they are a $50,000 sale. This article gets the credit for a $50,000 sale. That's ROI. That's what you've got to be proving to your people. We have got to do a better job at this. We've got to use our tools better. Too many people are not closing out leads, certainly within HubSpot, and it's a magical tool if we do it the right way. Versus compare. Who knows this movie right here? Yeah, who's the 2 actors? Who's 2 actors? Who are they? Dolph Lundgren, right? These may be the 2 greatest actors ever to share a single screen together. How many of you compare stuff online when you go searching and shopping? If you've ever gone shopping, you've done this. You do it all the time, don't you? Frank, you met with Marcus, thought he was cool with his orange shirt. You like fiberglass pools. You met with concrete pool guy. You liked his pools too. Now you're stuck. You like concrete. You like fiberglass. You like concrete. You like fiberglass. You have a moral dilemma. What do? You Google it, right? In Google we trust. And what do you type in? Yes, you're okay. This is not like, this ain't one of them crazy high schools that we send our kids to. What's your name? Lynn. What would you type in, Lynn? Concrete versus fiberglass pools? Of course you would. And who are you going to find? Marcus again. Right? He's there for you. Marcus cares. And so now you're going to find him. How many people 3 years ago do you think had ever compared all the types of pools in our industry? Nobody had done it because why? They weren't listening. And they didn't say, I want to be a great teacher. And so we wrote all types of versus articles. Fiberglass versus vinyl versus concrete pools. This is last year. It's been read 10,000 times. I don't care what type of comparison you do online right now. I'm going to be number 1, baby. You type in stand concrete versus pavers. My man's a landscaper over here. Stand concrete versus pavers. This ain't even my industry, and I'm number 1 for it, brother. What's going on here? Come on now. You have manufacturers in your industry, okay? Let's say you have different brands that you carry. You should be comparing brands. Somebody wants a Viking pool. They're looking at a manufacturer named Trilogy. Boom. It's all there, man. I got so many examples. I'm going to share some stuff with you at the end here. It's going to freak you out, too. It's awesome. All right, now, awards. Oh, I love this one. I'm going to start running around. So, How many of you have read those things that are like consumer, Best Buy, all that stuff? Anybody ever done that? Especially when you do cars. Now, what was it? It's no, Andy? Adam. I knew it was an A. Give me a break, Adam. I've only met 4,000 people this week. Okay, so Adam, why do you read those magazines and stuff? Because in Google we trust. But what if it's a magazine? And then we trust too. If somebody, we love ranking systems. We love seeing who's the best, who's number one, don't we? We do it all the time. So 3 years ago when I started this whole thing and I heard people saying, so Marcus, who's the best, who's number one, da-da-da-da. How many magazines and publications do you think had rated the different manufacturers of the different pools for fiberglass? Actually, nobody had. No, Greg, nobody had. And so, being a guy that likes to listen and react, what do you think I did? I made up my own. So this is what I did. So, no, don't be anticlimactic. It gets better. So, I wrote this in 2010. Small in-ground Fiberglass Pool Design Awards 2010. And this is basically, I look like this. I was a Chevrolet dealer for pools, and then I was giving awards to a Toyota, to Ford, to Chevy, to all these manufacturers. Now, I was writing about my competitors and giving them awards. Best kidney-shaped pool, best best square pool, best shallow pool, best diving pool, and all these best stuffs, right? So I was doing all this. How do you think they all reacted? Because it was kind of weird, right? Like this dude who's selling against me is giving me a flipping award. How would you handle that? Thumbs up. How do you think they handled it? These ding-dongs were announcing on the home page of their website they had won an award. In fact, this one article has 187 inbound links, and they're all coming from my competitors. And if you type in small fiberglass pool, small pool designs, or anything that has to do with small pools and designs and all that junk, of course we're going to be on the first page of Google because of it. You want to get inbound links? Write good stuff. Think like people. Answer their questions. Give them value. Right, Steve? My man Steve does that. I'm going to bring up Steve in a minute because I'm so excited about him. Everybody wants to be invited to the party. Those people are announcing on their homepage, we won this award. This is great. Wow. Oh, man, this is hilarious. Okay, so breaking news. Breaking news. Y'all live on the East Coast. Y'all remember that crazy earthquake that we had? I think it was like last year or something like that. It's crazy. Darmesh, you remember that junk, don't you? Darmesh was like shaking his office, and what did Darmesh do? We already know he didn't call anybody. He just started Googling, right? So the thing about it is, so this is what happened to me. I'm literally sitting in my office, right? Desk shakes for like 10 seconds. I'm like, wow, this is an earthquake. So I ran outside. And I look around. Of course, by now the earthquake has stopped. And I see, it's so still. And I live in the country. It's not going to see buildings like y'all. So I just looking around so still, and I start laughing to myself. And I'm thinking, we just had an earthquake, first time in my life. I've been a part of one. I have a bunch of pools in the ground. The ground moved. But I sell fiberglass pools. And they're flexible. So what does a content marketer do? What does a great blogger do? He writes it. Earthquakes and fiberglass pools. Yep, flexibility is nice when the earth moves. But here's what's crazy about that particular article. At the end of that article, I said to all my people, this is real time, you know. This is like all that old news jacking stuff right there, right? So at the end of this article, I said, so all you people that own fiberglass pools, don't you worry, your pool is just fine, but you might want to go to your neighbor's house that has a concrete pool and give them a little bit of love, all right? All right. The best. Oh, this is going to flip y'all out now. Over the years, I would sit in houses, and I don't do this anymore. Now I just talk about marketing and stuff. And I have salespeople that do this, and they still get the same questions. Over the years, people would say to me all the time, okay, Marcus, we like you. We like your company. But be honest, man. Who are some of the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia. Come on, I mean, who would you say? And of course, what do y'all say when you're asked that question? Because you all get that same question too, don't you? Who are your top competitor? How do you respond to that? Now, some of you ding-dongs say, oh, we don't have any competitors. Oh, no. Come on, y'all. Of course you got competitors. Don't act like they don't exist. Talk about them. It's okay to talk about them. In fact, as following our motto that we've all learned today, if they ask, we do what? We answer. So knowing I kept getting that question, what do you think I did? I wrote a blog about it. So the first one I did, it's not even this one right here, you can't see it. The first one I did was, who are the best swimming pool builders in Richmond, Virginia? Okay? And I actually mentioned the top 5. And I mentioned the companies by name. Now, do you think my name was on there? No, it wasn't on there. No, I didn't rank myself in the top 5. Why didn't I do that? Because it didn't make a difference. Where were they now that they were reading the article? They were on my site. In other words, they were in my funnel. In other words, it was already assumed that I was the guy. I was the guy, right? And so here's what's so interesting about that. When I first wrote that one article about who are the best swimming, and go ahead and type that in search. Go ahead. Who are the best swimming pool builders in Richmond, Virginia? Okay? If you do that, you're going to see that article comes up as number 1 or 2 on Google. Okay? Depends on where you are sometimes. But here's what's so crazy about that one article. Now, when you type in, now let me give you an example. That first article, Play More Pools, was mentioned on there. They're a competitor of mine. And so now when anybody types in reviews, Play More Pools, Richmond, Virginia, who comes up? I do. Now, whose funnel are they in? Mine. Who's getting all their trust? Me. Do you know, I've had people tell me, you know, I was almost ready to sign a contract with this company. And I went to search reviews for that particular company, and I landed on your site. I said, my goodness, if this guy has the guts to tell me who some of the other pool builders are in this area that he respects, I think I should give him a call. And they bought from us. That first article that I wrote about the best swimming pool builders in Richmond, Virginia, so far this year, I did it earlier this year, has made us $150,000 in sales. And so once I did that, I said, it worked for Richmond, Virginia. Maybe it'll work for every single place, major metropolis, where I do business. So now if you go online and say, who are the best swimming pool builders, Virginia Beach? Who are the best swimming pool builders, Fredericksburg? Who are the best swimming pool builders, Northern Virginia? Who are you going to find? And you're going to enter my funnel, and we're going to have a conversation, and you're going to fall in love. That's how it works. That's how it works. Thought leadership. One last one. And this one isn't very romantic. If you want to be a thought leader, every one of you all has seen things in your industry that you don't really like. I challenge you to talk about it. For example, the fiberglass pool industry used to have warranties that were total bunk. They were just semantics, and it really bothered me. And so I decided to write about fiberglass pool warranties and how they were scammy and how they needed to change. Now, of course, this article shows up on the first page, I think still for fiberglass pool warranties. But when people read that, they say, this is a guy that cares. I would challenge you to talk about the things that are wrong within your industry, stand up, and be a true thought leader. Do not live in the world of gray. Be black and white. Say what you like. Say the things that are wrong. This doesn't mean you attack other people, but you attack principles and practices that don't josh. I challenge you to do that, okay? All right? Today, river pools and spas, if you look at it when we started, this is in March of 2009. This was our organic search. This is our paid search. I was spending $500 every 2 days on paid search. That's where we were. How were we looking? Not so good, right? So we started producing content, and then we started finally getting those inbound links that everybody talks about, and people sometimes buy for stupid reasons, but we were getting them naturally. Then we went into the winter, and things really started to grow. And what do you see? The referrals are starting to get big. Then we kept going, and this year, we're way up here. Today, we're the most trafficked swimming pool website in the world, and it's all because we were the ones that said, we will never ignore a question. We will answer every single one that we've ever heard from a consumer. We're going to do it because it works. That's my challenge to you. That's my challenge to you. Okay? We're way more than simply marketers. Way, way more than simply marketers. Now, some of you still, despite that initial thought that I had about being exceptions to the rule, are thinking, will this apply to my industry? I'm going to pull one person out of here. Steve, stand up for me, my man. Steve. Now, Steve is a HubSpot customer. I'm going to interview you right now. I put this on him yesterday, and he's like, I hate your stinking guts, Marcus. All right. Now, Steve is a client. Steve, by the way, he owns, does anybody here live in Boston? Okay. Steve owns Yale Appliance. You ever heard of Yale Appliance? This is far and away one of the best appliance lighting companies in all of Boston. It's an awesome, awesome business. Now, ready? All right, buddy. I'm going to ask you some questions. Try to act like you like this. Okay, so how long have you been blogging?
2007.
2007. Okay, so your organic growth rate from 2007 to the beginning of this year, would you say, how would you describe it?
To the beginning of this year?
Yes.
Well, it started out pretty good, and then it flattened out.
It flattened out.
Yep.
But you've been blogging since 2007.
Right.
Right. So Steve came to me and said, dude, what is going on with this? Because I don't seem to be getting tons of traffic. And so we looked at this, and the only thing, tons of traffic in terms of growth, right?
Okay.
In terms of growth. And so we looked at this, and all we talked about was exactly the principles up here. Now, how many products do you sell?
40,000 or so?
40,000, right? So just in terms of kitchen appliances, name brands, how many do you sell?
About 50.
Right. How often do people ask you to compare the brands that you sell?
Every day.
Every single day.
Every minute of every day.
Every single day. Now let's just talk about verses alone. Since we had this initial conversation and you changed your paradigm of the way that you blog, how many verses articles alone have you written?
Probably about 30.
30 verses articles, okay?
Yep.
Can you tell us just a few of the searches that you know you're number one for on Google? First page, just first page stuff.
Well, pretty much I wrote one today. It's number one on Google.
All right, what's that? Do you know?
Whirlpool versus Frigidaire induction ranges.
Okay, Whirlpool versus Frigidaire induction ranges, number one.
Yep.
Now, this is a massive industry. Some of these manufacturers have millions and millions of dollars. But how many of them do you think are actually answering the questions that consumers are typing in all the time online? They're not doing it. Why, guys? Why? So, have you ever done best of articles?
Yep.
How many do you think?
Probably, well, since 2007, a couple hundred.
Okay, a couple hundred. Since you started doing this, which was how many months ago?
Yeah.
Strategically.
December. Yeah, strategically. Yeah.
How many articles that you've written have gone first page of Google for the keyword you targeted within 48 hours?
100 or so.
100 or so. Is he going after the short tail? Nope.
No.
What's he doing? He's thinking exactly like a consumer. He gets questions every day. And not only that, his salespeople are on red alert because they help contribute to the blog. They help contribute to the content. And because that, Steve has easily one of the greatest, if not the greatest blog already in the entire kitchen appliance industry. All because he is willing not to be the ostrich in the sand and think exactly like a consumer. Give Steve a round of applause. Oh, last question. ROI. Can you tell us what's happened?
No. No.
All right, tell us traffic. And
traffic.
Tell us just generally how this has affected your business.
ROI is impossible. I mean, it's not as easy, I guess, for me as it is
harder
for
for you.
It seems. But you know, our business in the last, well, since December has been up probably about 15% in an industry that's down 4%. And since we really started blogging in the last couple of years and doing the right things and not spending money foolishly and putting it all back into the company, everything's probably about 25%.
Yeah, it's awesome. Steve had one inherent flaw with his strategy. Do you remember what that was, what we talked about? I'm not picking on you, but seriously, what was the inherent flaw that we talked about? You blogged, but you missed one thing.
You got to blog towards a keyword. You got to have something in mind when you're blogging.
That's correct. We looked at his past posts, and I see this with at least 90% of the people that come to me say, Marcus, our blog is flat. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, no problem.
Our blog is flat. I look at the articles, I can say every time, what's your keyword goal here? What's your keyword goal here? What's your keyword goal here? And most of the time, they don't know. Guys, you have to have a definitive keyword goal almost every single time you write. All right? Now, some of you are in different industries. I understand that. But go after the tails, those longer tails, which are the questions of your consumers. And if you do that, you're going to be incredibly, incredibly successful because we're way more than marketers. We listen and we answer. And if you do this, if you make this the motto of how you approach inbound marketing, and you're willing to address every single question, your business is going to change. You will be seen as the voice of your industry exactly like Steve of Yale Appliance is seen today. The major manufacturers with multi-million-dollar marketing budgets are coming to him with questions and advice. What is the deal? He is the one that is being that thought leader in that industry, and that's what I'm asking of you. Be teachers. Now, finally, one last thing. I got one quick announcement to make. I love education so much. In about 4 to 6 weeks, me and a few guys are launching Inbound Trainer, which is going to be a HubSpot-oriented, all-video training series spoken in the language of the consumer. No marketing speak whatsoever. If you're interested in this, it's going to come out, like I said, in 6 weeks. If you go to inboundtrainer.com, you just sign up. All it is an opt-in form if you want to know about the launch when it comes out. I think this, and it's going to be a compliment to everything HubSpot Academy is doing because it's a different approach. I'm so stinking excited about it. I cannot believe it. And then finally, everything that I've learned, every stinking secret sauce I've got is found in this ebook that's free. It's found at thesaleslion.com. It's 240 pages. It's been downloaded now about 8,000 times. All over the world. Please, if you do one thing, read it and apply the principles about blogging that you find in there. If you do that, if you really, really do that, you'll become a thought leader in your industry. You'll be viewed as the voice and as the teacher. These are exciting times. The stuff I heard from Dharmesh and Brian this morning freaked me out in a really positive way. We have so much momentum right now. There is a tipping point coming along, and I've been waiting and waiting for it to come along, and I see the product is getting there right now. And when I looked at those videos this morning and the way that they messaged it in such a cleaner, easier way to understand with those videos, did y'all feel that too? How much easier you understood those videos? I said, yes, now they're speaking our language, the language of the consumer, the language of the HubSpot user. I see it so simple now. The same thing as your approach. Let's not make this whole thing about blogging more than a science. It is not that. It's a matter of listening and answering and being brave enough to have an opinion. And if you do that, you're going to be ultra successful. Now go home and apply it. Thank you so daggone much. I had a great time.